All right, let's get all this stuff back. Whoa. Oh, that's why. Just a sec here. And we need the YouTube chat. Cool. All right, looks like everything's up. Well, except for my light. Right. All right. So, hey guys. Yeah, I was a little late getting this stream set up and started. Today's been a day. Where everybody at? Well, I set up this stream really late, so I'm not that surprised that people are going to take a few minutes to get in. So just give me a moment to have a freezy break here. There's yeah. Early this morning, my my toilet broke. So we what is it called? Flapper? I know it's inside the actual like reservoir in the back. Something happened with it and it wasn't properly stopping water coming in from the pipes. So it would just keep filling and filling and filling. And you know, there's obviously the safety that drains, right? And it was just constantly cycling, so it was just wasting a bunch of water. So today was fixing that. As soon as that was done, yeah, that's all right. Time for the stream. I'm no plumber. I actually have to fix it again tomorrow because I apparently didn't tighten a bolt enough. So, but yeah, it's been a day. Oh man, freezies? You need them in this weather. It's crazy. You know, it's the last, like, I'd say 3 weeks now. Last 3 weeks here in Canada, in the area I'm in anyways, we've been sitting at almost constantly above like 25 Celsius, and we've been having anywhere from like 50% humidity to 80+% humidity. It's been insanely hot this summer. So yeah, freezies, they're real nice. I've also stocked up with a beer as well, because it's been a while since I had one of those. Trying to, yeah, stay hydrated, which is difficult. Anyways, let's get cracking on the content. I think I've given everyone enough time that wants to join. So, AC died. Actually, somebody I know in Vancouver was telling me that they don't have AC in a lot of homes there because of the climate. AC is not like a common thing. I was just like, man, how the hell do you live? It must be crazy, like, stable there, you know? Okay. So, we have the Graze Commander type. Cool stuff. When was the last time we had an IBO welfare? That was a long time ago. All right. With speed attribute, projectile speed raised by 14%. Okay. Speed attribute, really easy to activate. You know, 5 or more parts of speed. Projectile speed's really on the fence though. Here's the thing. I don't find it really that useful because to me, projectiles travel fast enough. The single weapon type that I think can benefit from this, some of you may not be surprised to hear this, are bazookas. I think everything else more or less benefits from having no projectile speed increase at all. But bazookas see a big increase, to me anyways, just because of the way they work. Overall, to me, this is not a very handy trait at all, but for people that use bazookas and find that they're missing a lot of shots, this might be your thing. When it's only hot 2 months out of the year. Yeah, okay, but like, what happens when there's a heat wave? Right? Like, what happens when you have to sit in 30 degrees Celsius or hotter weather, 80% humidity for like 2 weeks straight? Right? I get it. You don't want to buy an AC if you don't have to, but you don't have to use it if it's there. You can install it, leave it sitting there, and then if you ever need it down the line, you got the damn thing. It's better than cooking yourself alive in your house. Here's a question. Does projectile speed work on mag shots? That's an interesting question. To my understanding, projectile counts as anything in the ranged category. Ranged melee, ranged shot, your projectile beam. That's my understanding of it. I wouldn't take my word as gospel. I've been wrong about a lot of things with this game before because I don't really lab it a lot. It's just from personal experience and from what people that I know lab the game a lot tell me. So, okay, back to this. Stat-wise. Alright. Honestly, for a welfare, it has a lot of shot attack on the head. Like, this is a significant amount of shot attack for the head of a welfare. Okay. Token amounts of melee and shot, or rather, token amounts of melee attack and token amounts of melee and shot defense. For a welfare, good shot attack on it. I don't really like the trait. I am a big fan of the word tags, though. This does give us more options for commander and, unfortunately, for space. I don't like the 4 line of tags, but the commander is nice to see. We are limited in the amount of suits available that have the commander tag on it, so one that gets added to the welfare pool, hell man, I'm in. What am I nomming on? It's a freezy. It's been a day. It's been a day. All right, torso. When attacking with physical, shooting crit rate boosted by 17%. All right, so physical, obviously you have physical melee and physical shot skills. Shooting crit rate boosted. I'm not the biggest fan of crit rate boosts. I don't think they add a lot to the game, unless you're going for like 100% crit build, honestly. But we already have enough RNG in the game. I think leaving your damage up to RNG as well is kind of ridiculous, but you do you, whatever floats your boat. Yeah. Okay. Numerically, actually, for a welfare, I'm impressed. It has about 1,000 melee and 1,000 shot attack on it. And to remember, torsos, legs, and backpack typically have very low offensive stat distribution just due to the parts. Seeing a, you can't really count the Super Sokai suits or like, Sokai or Limiteds because they typically have really high offensive stats across the board. But if you look at 4-star suits in general, less than 1,100 is the overwhelming average. So seeing this, a welfare suit, so a 3-star, not even a 4-star, and it's pushing 1k on both, if not higher, it's pretty damn good, all things considered. We saw the commander for space. All right, so statistically, pretty great. Trait, not so great. Word tag, one of them's pretty great. One of them's kind of there. Is this the 4th or 5th Graze? I think this is the 3rd or something. Hell if I know anymore. All right. The arms. Okay, so statistically, we're looking at a relative. Yeah, this. And I almost feel like this should have been a 4-star, frankly. So 2,700 melee attack. When you carry over the melee defense, you're looking at about 3.1k, 3.2k. That's rather significant. That does border a lot of 4-star parts right there. Not limited or fast, but 4-star parts. All right, it's got a token amount of shot attack on it, token amounts of armor, 21% chance of attacks penetrating super armor. In case you forgot, that's the chance of making the enemy stagger every time you hit them. Because when you hit an enemy that has super armor, they just ignore your attacks and just keep going at you. You'll see it a lot in Battle Circuit. This gives you a chance to ignore that and force them to stagger when you hit them. So that's pretty good. All right. I'd say this is pretty okay. The trait definitely has a niche use against like larger opponents or people that have super armor. But outside of that, not really. For a welfare part though, for a new player, it's pretty good. Power creep is a bitch. But here's the thing, right? If the welfare suits were still the same as they were before the Super Sokais dropped, new players that joined in the game would have extremely inferior welfares to play with. As it stands right now, right? Like I'm looking at the Graze, I'm looking at the Cubely, I'm looking at the more recent welfares. What it boils down to is they're good and they have good stat distribution. They still lose out to a lot of 4-stars that are available due to the flexibility, because the 4-star pool is so ridiculously big now. The second you start getting some 4-star pick tickets, as a new player, you could build yourself a top-of-the-line suit. It won't have the stats of someone that's been playing for a couple of years and has all these limited parts to merge with them all, but you got your bisex, you have your wing finiche legs, you have your last shooting, right? You have the Trans Am on the Exia back. You have so many good options for EX skills. You have amazing traits available to you. A lot of these parts are in the permanent alter pool. So if the welfares aren't keeping up statistically and they don't make them like bang for your buck, as soon as a player has access to 4-star parts, they'd immediately just throw out the welfares. So I would say it's actually a good thing that we're seeing power creep in the welfares. I'm not so sure how to feel about power creep in the gacha. You know, it makes people want to keep rolling for the bigger numbers. You know, a lot of people are, oh, look at my 100k build. Good for you. But I feel like it's better to bring up the floor than it is to keep raising the ceiling, especially considering we don't have enough content to really warrant all this extra power we're getting now, right? I'm really hoping they add in like a constant new type difficulty on events, or a lot like what they used to. I don't know if you guys remember, but back around when the game launched, we would have the EX difficulty mission as a one-time clear for rewards because it was a difficult fight at the time. I'm hoping they bring that kind of idea back, where we have the EX, then we have like a new type or something, you know, above that. And it's just super difficult, and all it rewards us is maybe a flavor title, but I don't really know if that's fair because events don't rerun. But perhaps give us like 50 Haro on top of the 30 for each objective, right? Or 30 for the 10 per objective. That way, players that have all this excess power have something to, you know, channel it into, you know, give an outlet for it, while simultaneously not making players that aren't able to clear it feel like they're getting a huge shaft. It just becomes a bragging right thing, right? I feel like that'd be a really good use of that. But I'm not Bandai Namco, I'm not one of the devs, so what can I do about it? I know a lot of people want higher difficulties. I bring up whenever I can, hey, you guys should add in, you know, the wink wink nudge nudge, unlimited waves, you know, let us keep fighting infinitely scaling waves and enemies. Give us something to work for. And it's like, they haven't implemented it yet, which is fine. You know, it's their game, they do them. But they do need to give us some kind of outlet for all this extra power, or it just feels really lame, I guess, to keep upgrading when there's nothing to use it on. Anyways, back to this. So the legs, Brave Axe combo, B power, D pierce, very low cooldown, bring down a wild rush of blows. So this is really going to boil down to the animation. Something to keep in mind. Just because an EX skill has B power, it's going to hit relatively hard on paper. There's a few exceptions where it doesn't, but it does come down to what is the animation. Is it long? Is it short? Is it to the point? Does it have a really long wind-up? Is it something like the X backpack, where when you use it, you can be interrupted out of it, putting it on cooldown and wasting your EX? Things like that. This skill to me sounds like something that is very easy to whiff, has a relatively long animation, all things considered, and is just a hazard to you and, you know, anyone around you. So it really boils down to what's the animation and does it actually do B-type damage? On paper, it doesn't look too bad. Numerically, all right, it's pretty much the same as the torso. Looking about 1,000 melee, 1,000 shot. For a welfare, it's pretty good stuff. Commander and close combat. All right, that's an interesting word tag combination, because commander's for shot builds, close combat's for melee builds. So this does seem to be kind of one of those supplementary style parts. Really good to backslot, you know, gives you some options. I'm not sure how to feel about the EX though. Everything else looks good. All right, backpack. physical ranged weapon magazine boosted. Just so you know, ranged weapon, that refers to the weapon in your hand. Do you have a bazooka, SMG, rifle? That is your ranged weapon. That is the only thing that's going to benefit from this, and it has to be a physical type gun, not a beam. So physical SMGs, like from Iron Blooded Orphans, physical bazookas, things like that. So this has a very limited niche use, and I think there's way better traits we can get on backpacks or even EX skills. Sometimes power can be really deceptive, like the extreme back. Yeah, I noticed that, right? People are always, oh, you know, it has, you know, crappy power or whatever. I know I say that a lot when I look at the Sokais and stuff, but that's because we expect limited parts to be sitting on, you know, like B or higher power at minimum. So when you see them below that, you expect Alter is going to fix the issue. But you are right. Multiple hits do fix a lot of the issues. That's why, you know, D power funnels are still technically a threat, because they can hit quite a lot and do damage, but it is still D power at the end of the day. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. Granted, when you use a multi-hit, you're not going to be able to take those epic screenshots for a Reddit karma that shows, like, you know, 10 million damage, but you live with it. Okay. Stats. The stats are actually pretty much the same as the torso and the legs. Honestly, this welfare has a lot of really nice offensive capability to it. Commander, close combat. This is a really nice, in my opinion, the frame is a really nice flexible back slot. For those that are running shot machines, this gives you a full suite of commander. So I'm pretty sure the entire kit's going to have commander on this, which is beautiful. I'll take a look as we keep going through. But the secondary tag is also really useful for some melee builds. In case you're lacking somehow something that has close combat as a sub tag. Although you'd probably be better off digging through the 4-star pick ticket pool for something that has the close combat tag and potentially a really nice trait that you want. Because this really doesn't have amazing traits. So... Come on. Come on. There we go. Oh, yeah. This is what I'm talking about. The battle axe with a commander tag. This is really, really good for shot builds because we only have a handful of weapons that have the commander tag on them, and I think most of them are in the limited pool. So, good stuff. Numerically, it's a welfare weapon. Really nothing to write home about. And the trait. With speed attribute, melee damage output boosted by 20. It's a flat number. I wish it was by percent. It's not. It's just by a flat number. Very limited use. Not that great. Early on, it'll be pretty handy, but I mean like really early on. Once you start pushing like, I think 1500 attack, this is just, that trait's worthless. All right. Good stuff. So that battle axe, really convenient for shot builds. Okay, and the gun. Oh. There we go. Hey, and that can just hang out there. Gotta stay hydrated, gamers. All right. Let's take a look at this beam rifle. Oh, not even a rifle, sorry. Or beam rifle. It's a physical rifle, because that's IBO shtick. All physical, all day. All right, let's get comfy. Statistically, it's a welfare gun. It's not really that great. Commander in close combat. Okay. So, that was a really quick gun. Overall, looking at the entire Graze commander type, I'm really happy to see that we have more commander options within the welfare pool. Doubly so that the commander tag goes beyond just the frame, and we also see it on the weapons. To me, that's an absolute net gain right there. Nothing but swish, nothing but net. Anyways, beyond that, it's interesting seeing that the tertiary tag is 4 space and then changes to close combat. Thematically, it makes sense, but as a part, it kind of falls short, because now, if you're running a shot machine, that secondary tag is a complete write-off. If you're running a melee suit, unless you have a really good trait, on the front part, you could probably find a better sub part with the close combat tag to sub in, you know? But for anyone that uses shot machines, I'd say picking up this entire suit's more or less an absolute must. It just, the fact it has the commander tag on more than just the frame, it goes into your weapon slots, is huge. I wish it also extended into the shield, but it can only be so greedy. Okay. What else do we got in the shop here today? We're looking at mass production, Federation, Commander, Ford Desert, and Transformer. That's pretty solid stuff, actually. Okay. You can see I'm stockpiling a lot of these because I don't really 6-star many parts unless I really like them. I could use some more speed attribute though, that's for sure. What about our stage plugins? Okay, nothing crazy. Oh, Lunar Surface. Ooh, and the Lunar City. Ooh, I need that, that's for sure. Well, I think I already have a couple, don't I? Yeah, good. I need to redo my community map. Okay. Melee and beam plugins. Okay. So that's actually really nice. For anyone that's looking to make a real, like, big ol' meme custom map, you're going to want these because this modifies the melee and beam damage. Pretty solid. Okay. That's a pretty neato shop. All right, what do we got in the fragment pool? We got the full armor 7th. Yeah, come on. Yeah, full armor 7th Gundam. That doesn't ring any bells. Like, I know I've looked at it and I've given my impressions on it, but I mean, nothing stood out from it that I recall. The Sengoku Astray Technique. The backpack on that was interesting. Wasn't like jaw-dropping, but it was interesting. And the F92, that's the L-type, yeah? Come on. Yeah. And I don't recall anything with that being terribly amazing either. None of these suits really ring any bells for me in terms of like, oh yeah, these are some dope parts. Okay. Well, let's pop on over to take a look at the gacha. Thinking about that, some people pointed out to me that Fiora didn't scrape last week. I have no idea why that happened. The bot may have had a temporary outage from something. Bandai may not have uploaded it to its normal server. Frankly, I have no idea. I wasn't paying any attention at all during that time. My Sunday... What was I doing Sunday? Right, I had just installed Valkyria Chronicles 4. I'm using that to tide over my time between now and Tales of Arise. I was busy with that. So, yeah, I didn't pay attention at all to the... I didn't actually even realize that something had gone wrong until I think it was like 3.5 hours afterwards. I was about to crash and I got a ping on Discord, so... Whoops. Okay, moving on. Oh, okay, so this is the X Divider Technique Edition. Oh, it's a 1/100th scale, and it comes pre-altered. I remember, I think it was Mana pinged me and said, I'm gonna have difficulty this week because these are pre-altered. Okay, how to do this? See, here's the problem, okay? I haven't even looked at this, by the way. As soon as I select it, I put my phone down specifically so I don't start looking at it and getting all doe-eyed. So, my issue here, first of all, is the alteration permanent? If the alteration is permanent, then it's not really that big of a deal, because this part will become available in about 4 weeks for anyone to use a pick ticket on, or if they roll it now, and if they lack the alteration tools, they can pick it up down the line. Typically, when I do an impression of the part pre-alter and post-alter. And the big reason for this is most players are going to have this pre-alter for a very long period of time because they don't have the resources laying around to alternate it. It's permanent? Thank you. And the reason that, that's so important is because if I'm a brand new player and I'm watching this video to get kind of an idea of a suit, how good it is, and whether or not I should roll for these parts, or to get an idea of things I should look for, I don't want it to be a post-alter part that they have to work for to get. It may be terrible pre-alter and really good post-alter. If they see this impression, they may not know it's post-alter. They may not know what that means. They may not know the resource dump they need to actually get to that point. And they may roll it, and it may just be garbage until they alternate it. And that's why I'm glad it's permanent, because it means I can actually look at this part, give it my honest impression, and not worry about the fallout of it. If it was limited, I'd be really concerned about doing an impression on it in case a new player comes in, thinks that, oh, I should roll this. And, oh, this is alter. Got to be a little careful there about it. So if you're asking whether said part's going to no, I understand that the part itself isn't permanently altered. I'm wondering if the alteration is available permanently. Like, is it in the permanent pool in the alteration tab? If it is, nice. If it's not, then that's kind of where that discussion kind of comes into a play. Yeah, so this is going to be a very interesting thing, because this is the first time I've ever looked at an alterated parts like raw stats. So yeah, well, let's get going. I don't want to delay this forever. Oh, no, cool. It's cool, Mana. I just wanted to clarify all this kind of stuff before I started talking about it. All right. Yeah, oh man. Yeah, so I'm thinking about, someone mentioned Big Alt. So we actually still have a couple of Battlelog suits left. We have the Barbaritos or whatever, and like the perfect, was it the Perfect Strike Freedom? Yeah, it should be. I know a lot of people are talking about that. Anyways, end of the day, I would love it. I would actually love it if like the Barbaritos or whatever was like a 1/100 like super suit. I would just find that so friggin' hilarious. I'm not even 100% sure why. I just like thought about it. I just like, that's great. Barbataurus. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Thanks for breaking it up for me. I couldn't even remember what the name was spelled. I just remembered it had a lot more R's in it than I cared to remember. Okay. Anyways. Focus. Okay. So, to keep in mind, this part is post-alteration, meaning that it has much higher stats than it should. Doubled, it's also a big 1/100, meaning its stats are going to be even higher than it normally is. Because of that, I'm not going to take a lot of stock in the stats on this one. The stats are going to be good, okay? Not only is it a post-alter part, but it's also a 1/100, a big part. Those naturally have higher stats. So instead of, looking at the stats and making a big deal out of it, I'm going to focus more on the EX skills, the traits, and the word tags. Because a lot like when I do my normal alter impressions, it's safe to assume the numbers on this are going to be really good in comparison to its base form. And because this is a standard part to begin with, the numbers are going to be really good post-alter big, right? So, or a pick ticket part, I should clarify. Anyways. So, EX skill, charge up shot alpha. Your shot skill cooldown's instantly down 68%. Okay, so anyone want to take guesses that the Perfect Strike Freedom is going to have a 100% cooldown on one of its parts? What is this game coming to? Okay. So, This is really good. For anyone that doesn't quite understand what this exactly translates into, effectively, because of the way that percentages work in Gundam Breaker Mobile, if I have a 32% cooldown reduction build, this immediately makes it 100%. To put that into perspective, you technically only need a single part now with cooldown reduction in order to have 100% cooldown reduction if you have this EX skill. That allows you to instantly drop things like Axis, allows you to instantly drop things. Literally, any shot EX skill that has like a long cooldown can now be instantly reduced to 0 with the press of a button. You don't need to min-max out a cooldown build. You can now focus on more damage, EX skill damage, shooting damage, whatever. You don't need to worry about cooldown reduction anymore because this covers 68% of the bill for you. It's fucking insane. And with this now available as an EX skill, this shows that we're probably going to see something very soon that mimics it in the melee pool. And when we see the next Super Sokai come out, or whenever we see the next Battle Log suits come out, the next Limited, whatever, there's a very high chance we're going to see this as an even higher modifier. Do keep in mind, this is post-alteration, meaning that this does have a value that is much lower than this as its base number, because not only is this at trait level 10, so what's its level 1? 65%. I'm going to assume pre-alter it's probably 50% at maximum or something. Again, complete spitball. I don't know the actual value because I don't think we have access to the base part. End of the day, this is going to be crazy once we see this become more widespread in suits. I cannot see them not using this in more stuff, frankly. We know he's going to roll for this, no question. Actually, no. And the reason I'm not going to roll for this is purely because my current shot suit is actually decked out as it is. I don't want to, because right now it uses 2 magazine skills and the Axis as its shot. So I can literally just sit there and cycle between my 2 magazines, and by the time both of them are empty, I can just drop an Axis on whatever's left alive. So this actually doesn't benefit me at all. But if one of these shows up that has a 80% cooldown, for example, you can pick it apart that has a 20% cooldown literally fresh off the shelf, pair it with that, you have 100% cooldown out of the box. That lets you run some really meme stuff. But do keep in mind, it is still technically better to run the EX skill cooldown reduction on your traits. For the sole reason, this is an active skill and there is a cooldown attached to it. And this isn't classified as a shot skill, so it doesn't benefit from the 68% reduction. And the reason that's a big deal is if I have 100% cooldown reduction in my traits, I can just sit there and keep mashing Axis over and over and keep dropping Axis out of the sky, no questions asked. But if I have it locked to the skill, I use it, and then I pop this, for example, to reduce the cooldown, I still gotta wait, right? It's the trade-offs. I could have the 100% cooldown reduction, which is nice to have on my traits, but then I'm giving away a lot of extra damage I could be doing with it. Do I need the extra damage? No. Do I like big numbers? Yeah, I do. So this may be something to think about when I see higher modifiers come out for it from a limited part. But I think for now, it's still better to see them in traits just because they're always there, always active, and you can keep spamming your skills, versus this, which is reliant on not only taking a whole EX skill slot from you, and they're still limited, we only have 3 of them, remember, but on top of that, you're still at the whims of your normal cooldown reduction after that, because it's like a one-trick pony kind of deal. Yeah. If they change this to be 100%, I could see this being some kind of real meme setup, But outside of that, I can't see this being terribly, terribly useful. Yeah. In its current form, it just shows... Okay, to clarify, for brand new players that don't have access to a ton of EX cooldown traits, this is a really good part for a shot machine. For the players that have all these parts available to them and have a large library of tools at their disposal, this really isn't that amazing. But it should be said that this has the potential to be downright terrifying if the numbers are tweaked. And I can see that happening when it comes to a limited suit, a Sokai, a festival, New Year's suit or something. So it's not so much a, oh man, this is terrible. It's more of a, oh man, this is like the harbinger kind of thing. I can see what this is going to eventually snowball into down the line. So yeah. It's very interesting to see, though, that they're finally going this route of giving us a skill that adds cooldown reduction. I think that's kind of neat. Yeah. Anyways, onto the actual part itself. So the EX skill, obviously, you know, it's pretty solid for new players, only so solid for the older players. You can definitely do some really meme stuff with it for sure. Ace exclusive Federation, that's a very interesting tertiary tag to see. Federation is not the most common thing in the world, especially paired up with the Ace exclusive tag. So this is a real nice treat to see. Good stuff, good stuff. Obviously the numbers are ridiculous, but you know, that's because it's an alternated big part. So I'm not even, you know, it's a 4-star part with big buffs. All right, Breast Vulcan, Sea Power 11 magazine. This is post-alter, mind you. There's no salvaging this. Just thought, how will buff EX skill effect up by X% will affect this? The thing is, this is not a buff. This is a cooldown reduction. It's not a buff. Don't misunderstand that. So there may be bugged interactions where currently it may affect it, but long term, I can't see that being the intended case for it because it just straight up reduces your cooldown. It doesn't apply a buff to you that reduces your cooldowns by whatever. It just straight reduces the cooldowns of them. Anyways, Sea Power 11 magazine. On paper, this sounds like it could be pretty good. However, C power, it's going to hit a lot weaker than its contemporaries at B power or higher, paired with the fact that it's a Vulcan. It depends on the type of Vulcan it is, but on overwhelming average, Vulcans, when it comes to this exact descriptor, do kind of a spray. And the problem with that is you have to get very close because they don't have a long distance. And because it's a spray, not every shot's going to hit, meaning you're wasting a lot of damage, pissing it into the wind effectively. So it's going to be one of those, really depends on the animation for it, but I think the C power kind of permanently cripples it from being really good. It's definitely a good placeholder, but when you have access to more skills, it kind of falls off. It's classed as a buff, though, as the EX type. It might affect it. All I can say is if somebody gets their hands on it, try to lab it and see what happens. If you can get a pilot, the buff skill effect up, whatever, give it a try. But I'm pretty sure you're not going to see the interaction you're hoping for here. Supporter passive bonus reduces buff cooldowns. Well, someone should get the part, give it a try. Ain't gonna be me. But I can't see that being a intentional use case for it. That's, yeah, it just seems too easy to abuse with a supporter type. Anyways. Yeah, numerically the torso's nice looking, no surprise. So really the only thing about this torso that I'm kind of on the fence about is the EX skill. It really comes down to what it actually looks like in action, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a spray type Vulcan, and historically those are really bad. So, when operated on auto, shooting power boosted by 30%, and while Gundam type, shooting power boosted by 35%. Now this is actually pretty handy because a lot of players do play this on auto. I say a lot. I don't know how many people that watch my stuff play it on auto. I know a lot of you guys play it manual because it's good stuff, but the shooting power boost is nice, and the second trait is also very symbiotic. If you have the Gundam type tag, you get another shooting power boost on top of that. The only thing that I'm really curious about here is why they changed the tertiary tag from Federation to 4 urban area, and then subsequently did not give it the Gundam type word tag that its second trait wants. That's a little friggin' confusing to me, but it is what it is. Weird stuff. Alright, Ace exclusive for urban area. The numbers, yeah, big numbers. The only thing I think I'd really want to know, because I don't think it's been answered yet, is does an AI-controlled unit count as auto or not? And that's the only thing I'm kind of curious about here, because if it works on your squad mates that are, you know, controlled by the AI, it could be pretty good. Okay, let's check out those legs. What technique attribute? Enemy EX skill power reduced by 30%. Okay, do keep in mind this only works on the suit that this is actually equipped on, not for your entire squad, so. And shield parts EX skill power boosted by 35%. Now we do have a really good selection of shield EX skills, so honestly that's not too bad. My only real beef is that the first trait is a very defensive type tag, but at least it's a solid number on there, right? Not like a 25% or something. Cool stuff. Ace exclusive for urban area. Cool. Backpack. Aha. Twist Buster. A power. Lift foes with your saber, knock them back down to earth. Unless I'm mistaken, this is just a locked cutscene where you just swing the sabers in front of you to knock them in the air, and then you go up and do the rest of the animation whether you hit something or not. It's not that great of an animation if it's the one I'm thinking of. The A power is nice, low cooldown's nice, but I don't think the animation's really going to do it any favors. Ace exclusive for urban area again. Yep, the numbers are of course good. You know, it's an altered big part. The beam machine gun. Oh, is that one a good animation? Alright, cool. There's so many animations in this game, I just forget all of them at this point. We'll probably see it on the Twitter videos later when I go to take a look. So I guess I'll save final verdict for that. Alright. Beam machine gun. When armor's 80% or more, shooting power boosts by 35%. Solid. Super easy to hit that mark. When attacking with beam, shooting damage output boosts by 35. Now, here's the thing, right? For a brand new player, this is pretty friggin' solid. Because it's a submachine gun. You equip it on your suit, you run at somebody, and you open fire. Typically, you're going to be doing about maybe 100 damage per bullet at, you know, really, really low levels. Thing is, this adds probably, I think it's, what, 20 or something at level 1? Oh, 8. Well, that's a huge scaling difference, 8 to 35. So if you're doing 8, that's almost like 10% extra damage per hit if you have it on if you're doing like 100 damage per. And obviously the less damage you do, the higher that scales up. And for a new player, that's really, really good. It's obviously going to be practically useless once you get up past, I think it's even just like 1,000 attack or so. You start doing like a few hundred damage. So, yeah. Second trait is good. First trait, not so much. At least it's on a submachine gun and not like a beam rifle or something. Shot attack, breaks 11k, not surprised at all. Altered big. Ace exclusive Federation. Now those are some really nice tags to see on a gun. Really nice tags to see on a gun. And the Divider Shield. Nice. The Harmonica Cannon. A Pierce B plus power. Oh, they accidentally typoed a space. Ha 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 ha. Between the apostrophe and the S there on shield. That's a big space that shouldn't exist. It also has the best stats currently for a submachine gun. Thing is, that's not really setting the bar very high. Because this requires... Here's the thing, right? If this was a normal part, it would require you to not only have a big part, but also alternate it. It's designed to have really good stats. So, you're not wrong. Good numbers on it. But overall, its usefulness is probably going to be best suited as like a sub slot. But we'll see. We'll see later on. Actually, no. Big guns, big stats goes in front. Better sub weapon in the back. I'm all confused now. End of the day, it's good to know that some machine guns are getting more love. but yeah, I can just see a limited part creeping the hell out of it. EX shields, stupid as fuck, ICD at level 1. Wait, really? At level 1 it has such a huge seat. Wow. 90-second cooldown, 53 seconds at level 1. Big spice. B plus power, A pierce. This really is going to boil down to the actual animation of the EX skill. Do remember that not all B and B plus skills actually hit equally. Some of them hit really hard, some of them hit like a wet noodle. So we'll have to see it in action to really figure out whether it's a good or bad one. But purely on paper, it's not terrible, but because of its really, really long ICD, even at max level, little hesitant on that one. Okay. So, with all that out of the way, all right, let's look at pilot. Oh yeah, somebody brought up, I forgot to look at the pilots last week. Whoops. Okay. Amida Arca. When armor is 80% or less, all power boosted. This used to be a relatively easy trait to activate because you would just run over cost and you would spawn with 70% armor. But with the 3.0 patch removing cost completely, this is now actually difficult to activate because you have to take a few hits. And at a difficulty level where, you know, you're kind of min-maxing your build, a few hits can kill you. So, limited use. It is for outfighters. Stats are okay. Better than some 4-stars, I'll give her that. Close combat and force space. The close combat tag is nice to see. Force space is thematically on point, but I think really useless on a pilot. Okay. And Silver Crown. G unit. Nice. While high firepower, EX skill cooldown reduced by 20%. Good stuff, good stuff. Okay, high firepower, really easy to activate, and you get an EX skill cooldown reduction. The topper to this is high firepower is both for... Oh, sorry, microphone. High firepower is both for shot and melee builds, so it's not like you're really losing out by using on one build or the other. So, bonus. Not bad. Infighter, statistically... Okay. We're looking at about 2,800 melee attack or so. 4-star pilot. It's pretty good numbers. Pretty good numbers. High firepower Gundam type. Silver Crown's actually not a bad melee pilot. Like, it's pretty solid, all things considered. There's a new build project suit. SD star winning. Okay. Invented a blueprint. So for Saga's back, Shining's back, the new Xeon's back. Ooh. Okay. So the Throne, the Reboo, and the Bolt Gundam have also been re-added back. So, which Throne is this though? This should be dry, right? Yeah, dry. This one was... Actually, I don't think any of these parts are really amazing, were they? No, this was a support type suit. Yeah. No. Someone was saying that these suits got altered as well, so I'll take a look. It's nice to see the Bolt Gundams back though, because the Bolt Gundam's one of those very rare sources of mobile fighter. So if you're melee, if you use melee suits and you're trying to find a good source for a mobile fighter, Bolt Gundam can give you your whole frame. So that's instant 5. That's going to shit on some BP pilots after 3.1 with pilot marks. Some of the lower end build project pilots I think will lose out to Silver Crown post marks, but the overwhelming majority of them should be fine. I thought the backpack was solid on the throne. Where's the throne? Where's your backpack? Let's take a look. Show me your buffs. Raise ally melee and shot defense by 19. Raise ally beam and physical resist by 29. Like, it's a heavily defensive buff, but it exists. Yeah, there's other thrones that have good backpack, not this one. All right. Neat. Anyways, star winning Gundam. What do we got? The SD Gundam variant. Okay. Close range weapons EX skill power boost by 35%. Okay, so this is specifically referring to the SMG weapon type, because that's considered a close range weapon. Now, we do have a few of them with really good EX skills. What comes to mind is the recent Welfare, the Beret. That thing actually had a grenade launcher EX skill magazine on its ranged weapon, so that's pretty solid, right? That would directly see a boost from this. But at the same time, oh wait, hold on, no, close range weapon. Sorry guys, I'm having a complete brain fart. Close range weapon, that means it's melee weapon. Man. Oh yeah, it's midnight already. Anyways, close range weapons EX skill power boost. This is going to boost your melee weapon slots EX skill. So, actually, that'd be really fun to use with the Axis drop now that I think about it. How many melee weapons actually have a good... I got like literally just Axis drop coming up to my head. That's like the only thing that's coming to my head right now. Right. The OG Barbados Mace. You're right. You're right. Alright. Well, that does have its use. It is a little on the niche side, but it has a higher multiplier to make up for that. Instead of the normal 30% for an EX skill boost, it's 35% because it narrows it down. But I don't really know, like... You'd probably be better off... Oh, okay. In its base form pre-alter, you'd probably be better off with a multitude of different parts that have a general EX skill power boost, not just for a single slot. Anyways, moving on here. Statistically, we're looking at... what, 22,870? Yeah, so we're looking at about 2,400 melee attack or so, and we're looking at about 5,300 shot attack. For a build project, that's pretty standard. Good numbers. Gundam type and transformer. Now, I'm not really sure what to say about this one. So these are both what I classify as tertiary tags. They're not like a mobile fighter, ace exclusive, commander, protagonist. Like, they're not the major tags, but they are available. They do activate a lot of different traits, and they are in their own way good for specific builds. So I'm kind of surprised to see that a build project of all things has 2 tertiaries on it, but I guess it is thematically on point. Torso. With machine gun category, equipped shooting power boost by 40%. Okay, so that is actually really neat. We do have some really good SMGs floating around. Obviously, we just got one with the X Divider, and this gets a 40% shooting power boost. I thought this would be something limited to gacha suits, you know, the festival stuff, you know, Sokai and all that. Apparently no, they're going to start adding it to build projects too with its big 40% modifier. All right. Numerically, about 2,400 melee attack and about 2,500 shot. Solid numbers. Yep, again, build project numbers, I'm not even that surprised. It's got a healthy trait on it, as long as you have a good SMG to slot in. And Gundam type support type. Okay, so these are some really interesting tags, and I'm not meaning that in a good way. Not meaning that in a good way. These are some interesting tags. Arms. With technique attribute, enemy melee power reduced by 30%. So that's more of a support type thing. Do remember that this will only affect the suit that this is equipped to, not your whole team. So, Gundam type, support type again, numerically. Alright, looking at about 5,300 melee attack. You're looking at about 2,600 shot. For a pair of arms, that is a significant amount of shot. However, the fact that its trait is extremely defensive and the fact that it has kind of like a meh word tag selection, I don't really know what the stats make up for it here. Support type is actually super OP because it's got flat attack on its word gear, the 2k extra shot, and a hilariously large modifier to the tag. Yeah, except, like, you use the support type tag, which activates almost no traits of worthy value. Granted, if you make a build around it where you don't need any tertiary tags, so you're running, because I see this boosts your shot attack by 5%. If you ran this on a shop build with, like, Ace exclusive commander support type, and you built it around all of its traits, not needing any special tags to activate, I can see it being pretty useful, but that's such a very specific niche setup that it's, again, kind of like, for the overwhelming majority, The star winning will have an EX skill that can transform into SD form into real form. That's an interesting question. I have yet to see a suit in this game that can transform between the types. Alright, let's check out those stubby legs. While Gundam type, EX skill power boosted by 35%. Alright, that's a solid trait. Nothing to talk about there. Numerically, okay, that's actually a rather stat-bombed set of legs. Oh, shit. About 2,500 melee and about 2,500 shot. Those are some offensive legs right there. Gundam type transformer. Again, tertiaries. And it seems to really like changing up its second tag. Backpack. Mega Core Booster. A- Pierce, B- Power. Shift into flight form and execute a charge attack towards the enemy. Low cooldown. Okay. That's interesting. This seems to be a ram type. My question is this something that can be interrupted while you're flying towards them with like a yeet skill? Does it make you phased? How does that work exactly? Numerically, it's very, very similar to the legs. We're looking at about 2,600 melee attack. We're looking at about 2,500 shot. For a backpack and legs, those are actually pretty like numerically jacked. And again, more tertiary tags. Alright, Beam Saber, also known as the Mega Blade. Alright, now here's that's... I don't know how to explain this, but that's not a sword. You've taken a gun and attached a hunk of metal to the bottom, and you're now calling it a blade. That's like calling a musket with the little sharp stick at the end a rapier. You're not wrong. It's got a pointy bit at the end. You can fence with it. That's not a fucking rapier. Alright. Mega Blade. Produce a humongous beam saber from your Mega Blade and bisect foes. Oh boy. Junibio syndrome. B+ power. Low cooldown. Interesting. I'd have to see really the animation on this. On paper, it doesn't look bad. B+ power, low cooldown. But, like, do remember, right? I think it was the 00 dice. Was it the Sky? anything. One of these suits had a really interesting backpack that on paper looked mediocre, but in practice was actually really potent because it stopped everything while it did this really long animation, and then had a really long reaching sword attack, which would work really well on AI, but you know, as players it's easy to dodge, just move left or right. But it was interesting to see. So I'm curious to see what the animation behind this one is. Yeah, bayonet, that's the word. And it was 00 Sky, cool. Numerically. Alright, well it has no carryover stats, but it does have a significant amount after mods. You're like 10.6k. That's pre-alter and everything. That's actually pretty good numerically, shit. Gundam type transformer. Alright, cool. Cool stuff. Like, I think my only real complaints about this is the fact, like, it's still running nothing but tertiary tags, and I don't know what the animation for the EX skill looks like. Other than that, though, you know, on paper, it looks pretty good. And the gun, the beam machine gun, which is, wow, the same thing we just saw, except, you know, some stuff got moved around a little bit. When operated on auto, enemy shooting power reduced by 30%. Wow, that is really niche. That is really, really niche. All right, numerically, pretty good numbers. What, 10.6 as well? Yep, 10.6. Gundam type, support type. Okay, so like, this SD Gundam, this build project, statistically, it's good. Word tag selection wise, it's like the worst mixing pot of tags I think I've ever seen. It's got like 7 different tags, I swear, on this suit. And it makes it interesting for mix and match builds, but as a mono build, like holy crap, this thing's a nightmare. Interesting, but like, why is this a build project? That is the star winning question, my friend. That is the star winning question. It's a very interesting suit, but it's so... Oh, hey. Alright, cool. I should probably spend the rest of my heavies before I forget. I'll just buy a bunch of these. Cool. Problem solved. Okay. So, I'm gonna exchange that. Cool. Cool beans. So, we've looked at the build project, we've looked at the gacha stuff, all that. Before I look at the alters, let's pop on over to the Twitter and see if they've uploaded a video this week. Are they gracious gods? They are. Wow. Okay, Twitter video. Oh, look at that, I didn't have to modify anything this time. That's pretty dope. Is that centered? Sort of. Is that centered? Sort of. Alright, I'll just kind of meet in the middle. Good stuff. Alright, cool. I'm gonna mute that. Alright, let's take a look at our EX skills. A. Really? Really? Oh, it's gonna be one of those days, isn't it? Is that? Okay, there we go. Now we're good. All right. X, show us your stuff. Oh, whoa. Was that an actual direct stream? Okay. So. Yeah. Alrighty. So let's take a quick pauso here and talk about this one. So, the biggest concern I had with this was the consideration of Vulcans. Typically, when you use a Vulcan, there's a good chance that it kind of sprays out. So instead of firing directly at your target, it kind of shoots towards it, a little bit in all directions. And it makes it very unreliable, as it means that you may hit every bullet, you might not. This one actually seems to have really good tracking, and everything shoots directly at your target. However, I also noticed during that scene that it's using the smaller caliber shots, meaning it's not going to travel very far at all. It has about the same distance as head Vulcans, meaning you do have to get up close and personal for this. The biggest issue with that is the fact that it rocks C power. It's going to do damage, it's going to sting, but it will forever have that hard ceiling of not being able to properly compete against the good B and B plus magazine skills, ones that even go higher, potentially. So it's very much much like I've said before, a stopgap kind of thing. You are going to use it for a while if you don't have anything better, but as soon as you get something better, which won't be too long, this will pretty much fall to the wayside. Does it make it terrible? No, it just doesn't make it great. At least we don't have to invest into this if you roll now. You just get it as it is. I would say this isn't worth the alteration, but it comes pre-altered, so there's that. All right. And I think all that's left then is the shield? No, backpack and shield. Oh, it's that one. Okay, yeah, I see what you mean when you said it's the good one. So yeah, this is a really quick animation, and it does let you dodge a lot of shit on the ground, and it keeps you up and away from other units while you're doing it. So honestly, that's not terrible. For an A power melee, that's actually pretty acceptable. Not amazing, but definitely acceptable. All right, and let's take another look at that shield. I think it's the exact same as the other shield, is it not? Oh. Okay. So, you use it. It has about a 1/4 of a second animation time to flip up your shield and begin firing. Based on that distance, it's pretty much the max distance that we see from EX skills in this category. And that is a sustained beam doing constant damage the whole time. Honestly, that is a terrifying EX skill for beam. It has the potential to do a lot of damage to a lot of targets. Unfortunately, it is more or less completely crippled by the fact that it has such a huge friggin' cooldown. It won't be a big deal to the players that have 100% EX skill cooldown or very close to, but almost everybody else is going to suffer because it's 35 second ICD and 60 second normal. What the hell is that? The EX skill itself isn't bad. The thing that makes it bad is its timings. That's pretty much all it boils down to. So if you're able to negate the long ass cooldown, it's a pretty good part. Not top tier, but it's a pretty good part. Okay, and let me check to see, do they have, no, they wouldn't have the build project. I was hoping, I was really hoping, but they don't. Okay, so let's take a look at our alterations. It seems like they're forcing it to have high ICD because the head EX. Maybe. Even on CDR builds, the ICD would kill it because you need 30% ICD to get insta. Maybe. Unless I'm mistaken, EX skill cooldown reduction also counts towards ICD, but I don't even know anymore. Anyways, what do we got here? So we have our thrones. Those are new. The star winning, that's new. And the big X divider, that's not new, is it? This is the one that's in the gacha right now, is it not? Yeah, it is. Cool beans. Oh, wait. Damn. Okay. Damn. I was hoping I could access the base part, but I can't. Don't mind me. I just realized that that's the one that's currently in the gacha. I'm like half here, apparently, boys. New Gundam alt. Really? Okay. I'll take your word for it. So, I have the Throne, the Rebawoo, and the Bolt Gundam to look at, and then the Star Winning in the new. Now, these are new, right? Yeah, because it was the Maxer that got upgraded, not the Bolt. That's the one I'm thinking of. Okay. So, Gundam Throne Dre. Oh, right. So, just to do my pre-alteration section quick disclaimer bit, when I look at alterations, I purely look at the difference in the EX skill or the part trait, because frankly, those are the only things that see a real difference. We know that the stats typically will always increase. Like there's what, less than 10 parts that see a drastic stat difference. So before you actually alternate a part, make sure its final stats are what you want, because there have been a few cases where it changes a lot. Word takes don't change, and therefore all that's left is really look at the part trait and the EX skill and just assume the stats go up. That's the way I do it, so let's get going. When operated on auto, shooting crit rate boosted by 30%, with the speed attribute, mid-shot attack raised by 14%. 14% is kind of a low mod, but it is a welfare suit, so it could be worse. The auto is nice, the shooting crit rate not so nice. So, not really a great alteration in my opinion. Alright, torso. What do we got? While support type, EX skill damage taken reduced by a flat number. Wow, it's useless. With speed attribute self, enemy EX skill power reduced by 30%. Wow. Yeah. No. They're really starting to crank out the operated on auto trades. I guess their numbers show that a lot of people are using auto. GN Shield Pod. Launch missiles from your shield, C-Power 7 magazine. Like, at least it's missiles. If I remember correctly, these ones have slight homing on them, but it is still locked to C-Power, so a lot like the X-Torso, it's going to see limited use. You're going to probably change out of it pretty quickly. It's a placeholder, effectively, and so I don't think it's really worth the alteration. Legs, supporter job EX skill cooldown reduced by 15%. Alright, cool, good for supporter jobs. Like all three of them. With speed attribute, enemy EX skill penetration reduced by 28%. So, enemy EX skill penetration refers to, it's not pierce, but that's, to my understanding, the super armor. So, you're effectively getting 28%, oh no, EX skill penetration, that is pierce. So you're reducing 28% of their pierce, which isn't too bad. However, overall, it's just not, like, very few people actually run supporter on their primary suits. They'll run it on their secondaries or tertiaries when it comes to, like, arena or stuff. So the EX skill cooldown is only going to really affect that suit. But there's better cooldown reductions that you don't need to use supporter for. Like, you can obviously run supporter, but you can have word tags that activate it. And I think those are better because they have higher multipliers on them, because this is still a welfare, right? And the second one was speed attribute, reduced enemy EX skill pen. That sounds nice on paper, but typically people are running low pierce, high power. That's the meta. So why would you reduce their pierce by more? Like, you're not really doing anything. Arms are getting 14k melee on preview. I'll take a look once I'm done the Dre. Release a massive wave of GM particles from your tube back, blah blah blah. Okay. Melee and shot defense by 19%, beam resist by 49%, physical resist by 29%. It's a much stronger buff than it used to be, but it's still just not that amazing of a buff at the end of the day, honestly. Supporter job melee damage output boosted by a flat number. No thank you, that does not scale well. When operated on auto, job gauge increase boosted by 17%. I'm still not a fan of the job gauge. I think it could be much better than it currently is. But if you're someone that really likes your job gauge stuff, here you go. You just gotta deal with the supporter job requirement on the first one. Yeah. And the Throne Dry really didn't get much of an upgrade. It just kind of exists. Just kind of exists. Now, someone was talking about 7th Gundam stats. That's just going to be in the normal exchange pool, is it not? Come on. Load. Damn you. Is this server getting, like, blown up or something? What's going on here? There we go. Jeez Louise. Alright. Full armor 7th Gundam. Full armor 7th Arms. What in the hell? Yo, guys. You seeing this? Hold on a sec. Let me... I need to... Ooh, boy. Ooh, boy. Give me just a second here, gentlemen. I'll continue my stream in a sec. That is spicy tamales. Alright, back to what we were doing. Okie doke. I have no doubt that it's a visual bug, but I went and reported it anyways because the last thing I want to do is for someone to not think it's a bug. Anyways, where did we leave off? Alterations. Why didn't I just forget and stop the stream? Anyways, back to where we were. The Rebawoo. We'll start from the top. Okay, with technique attribute, projectile speed boosts by 14%. I've already talked about this. Well, Xeon, EX skill power boosts by 30%. Yeah! Xeon! Xeon's not exactly the most common word tag to see, but it does have its use in some builds. The fact that it also boosts EX skill power here is really nice. Now, unfortunately, the first trait, not the best. It's workable at least, you know, it's not like a supporter job thing, but still not that great. Okay, torso. The Beam Vulcan, D Pierce B Power. Okay. So this is one of those scenarios again where I'd have to double check the animation tied to this. But on paper, B Power 11 magazine. Pretty solid stuff. Arms. These are the grenades, right? Yeah, arm-mounted grenade launcher, B Power 11 magazine. Now these are actually good. I know I've used these before. These are pretty good for what they are. On that note, click, 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 click. Okay, back to what we were actually... I have the torso too, right? Yes, I do. Sorry, gentlemen, just give me a second here. I don't want to forget. I'm really good at forgetting to do this kind of stuff, and then I regret it later. So I just have to make sure to farm up dupes to the Rebawoo as well, but at least I'll have them altered. Alteration's the big one. And back, select, and alter. Yes, good use for all of my capital. Okay, back to where we were. The legs. I said the legs. Flexible beam gun. Fire the beam gun attached to your flexible thrusters. B plus power, D pierce. Nah. It is low cooldown. It is B plus power. It is on a welfare. Overall, not bad. In terms of like the overall like scheme of EX skills, meh. Backpack. While Xeon melee power boosts by 25%. Okay. With technique attribute, EX skill piercing boosted by 28%. I've already talked about the EX skill piercing. Alright, cool. Hey. Yeah, Xeon's definitely a melee tag. This backpack does work with it really well, I think. That first trait's really nice for it. The second trait you can work with as long as you get some good EX skills that have like high power and low pierce. Because this boosts your EX skill piercing, so instead of it... Because the last part I looked at that handled piercing, it was reduces the incoming piercing. And the reason that wasn't that handy was because, again, like I said, most people are using really high power, really low pierce EX skills. This, on the other hand, is boosting your piercing. So you do high power, high pierce. Typically, people don't run defense against pierce because, again, everyone does high power, low pierce. Why would you defend against it? Kind of wasting a trait slot. So this actually does have a lot of use. Just don't run into somebody that has 100%, you know, pierce block. That'd be awkward. Anyways, first trait, bueno. Second trait, it's okay. It's not great, not bad. It's okay. Okay. Beam gun. While commander, initial EX skill charge boost by 12%. For a gun, that's actually not that bad. You be running commander, probably, and you get the initial EX skill charge boost. It is a low multiplier, it is ICD, but not bad. With technique attribute self, enemy EX skill power reduced by 30%. To me, that feels like a huge waste. The first trait is very, in my opinion, offensive oriented, as commander's an offensive type tag, coupled with the fact that the second trait is a defensive tag. Kind of a, no, not very symbiotic. The first trait, pretty good. Second trait, pretty not good. Pretty not good. And the shield. Looks like a sniper with an egg cog. Beam rifle, how? Power, gray skull, man. Just don't question it. Alright, and our grenade launcher shield. A- pierce, B- power. Launch grenades from your shield. It's a shame that it's not a magazine. It's a shame that it's not a magazine and that it's just a normal EX skill. At least it has a low cooldown though. Yeah. Meh. It's okay for what it is. We don't have a ton of selection for shot skills in the shield, so at least it fills some kind of a niche, I guess. Oh yeah, no, I love the look of the Ribawoo. Same with like the Sananju. So, yeah, no, aesthetically, spicy. Okay, and the Bolt Gundam is our last little to review. No, I'm fucking with you. We still have two more after this. Ugh. Head-mounted Vulcan. Okay, that's a waste of my time. Torso. I said torso. Hyper mode. Raise your melee attack by 39%, raise your melee defense by 19%, and raise your speed by 20%. So this is the fourth highest defensive modifier. We have 59%, 54%, 49%, and 39%. 4. So this is, for a welfare part, pretty good. It really climbed up the ladder, all things considered. You get your little token speed boost, get a little bit of extra defense, and you get a medium amount of attack boost. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Arms. Come on. Jesus. Graviton Hammer. Pulverize your blah blah blah. Raise your melee defense by 29%, B plus power, D pierce. Okay. It's a shame that it doesn't reduce the enemy's melee defense, it raises yours instead. It does have B power on it, it does have a low cooldown. For a welfare, it's not bad. Legs. With power attribute, melee crit rate boost by 17%. I've already talked about crit rate. And the second trait, infighter job, melee crit rate boosted. Okay. One thing I will say, this part, if you do fully upgrade it and you get its, its trait up to max, it does give you a 47% melee crit rate. Inherently, it's not terrible. It is almost, 50%. And if you're able to find another part that gives you 50%, you could use 2 parts out of the 8 in your build to get 100% crit rate. That could prove to be very good. Yeah, I don't think 47% on its own is really enough to write home about, though. Okay. And the backpack. While mobile fighter, melee power boost by 25%, since that's kind of like effectively a core tag for melee builds now with the rebalance. Okay. And the second trait. When attacking with physical, EX skill piercing boosted by 28%. 2 parts to do 10% more damage. Yeah, you're right, Mana. Like I said, I don't really like crit rate stuff in the first place. But if you're going to crit rate build, 47%, you're halfway there. Anyways, when attacking with physical, EX skill piercing boosted. So, pretty much look at what I said with the previous suit. It does have its place in certain builds, depending on what you're doing. With this, at least boosting your melee power by 25%, and then you get a nice EX skill pierce boost if you're using a physical EX skill. Honestly, I'd say that's really not that bad. They are symbiotic in a way, and at least, the piercing boost is pretty high. As it is a welfare, you will be able to max this out very easily, so it's definitely a consideration part. Good stuff. Okay, so those are our 3 welfares looked at and all taken care of. I do like what they did with the bolt. Some of its parts are pretty nice. I like what they did with the Rebawoo. It's pretty much seen a static increase across the board on its EX skills. The traits leave a little bit to be desired, but it's what it is. And we don't talk about the throne. We're not going to talk about it. Okay, let's move on to our star-winning Gundam. While Gundam type, EX skill power boost by 35%. Okay, so if your suit uses has a Gundam type tag, and you're using the EX skill of a melee weapon, you're seeing a 70% boost in your EX skill power damage. Pretty good. Yeah, dope stuff. The first trait I still think is a little limited because it only targets your melee weapon, but you know what? It'll work. Torso. The throne is basically there for word tag grade levels. Yeah, no, you're right. Torso. With machine gun category equipped, shooting power boost by 40%, and with technique attribute, EX skill power boost by 40%. So if you're running this on a shot machine that has an SMG as its ranged weapon, this is pretty solid stuff. It has to be technique. But that's a pretty good solid boost across the board. Good numbers. The sole downside is that it's a build project, meaning it will be difficult to get its EX skill power up without using the hanger, but you suffer for the numbers, am I right? Alright, the arms. With technique attribute, enemy melee power reduced by 30%, and with machine gun category equipped, shooting power boost by 35%. So that second trait is pretty solid. First trait though kind of gimps it a little bit. This is definitely going to be one of those to your flavor kind of things. I don't like the first trait. I think the second trait's pretty good. But if you can put up with the not so great first trait, the second one will ride you home. You got the numbers and everything. I don't really see much of a complaint for this. Legs. Well, no complaints beyond the fact it's not a perfect alteration that has 2 amazing traits. Alright. While Gundam type, EX skill power boosted by 35%, and back parts EX skill power boosted by 35%. Alright, it's pretty easy to activate the Gundam type word tag, and you get the EX skill power boost, and your back parts EX skill power also gets a boost from this. Frankly, again, this is pretty solid. As long as you're using a backpack with an EX skill, and you have the Gundam type tagged, you're seeing the full benefits of this. Granted, only on the back, but with the amount these multipliers go up, you should be able to one-shot most things. Okay. Interesting. The backpack. The Mega Core Booster, A-B+. It does see a little bit of an upgrade here, not by much. Cooldown still low. Alright. I really wish I could see an animation for that one though. Alright. The Beam Saber, Mega Blade. D, A- power. So that went from, what, it was B+ to A-. Pretty good. Cooldown, more or less the same. Cool. Yep, the numbers go up to almost 12k. No complaints there. Okay. And the gun, we're probably going to see the same big boost there. Yep, effectively 12k. When operated on auto, enemy shooting power reduced, and shot damage raised 10%, shooting power boosted by 35%. Actually, wait, hold on. I did take, yeah, it was the Mega Blade. I had a brain fart. Anyways, so the second trait, shot damage raised by 10%, shooting power boosted by 35%. So you're getting hit with a slight demerit. You're taking 10% more shot damage, but don't get hit. And I think the trade-off is worth it, 35% more shooting power. Considering this has some stupidly high stats for what it is, yeah, you know, if you do get your hands on it, I'd say it's worth it. Really wish Star Winning was on Twitter. Yeah, don't we both? Okay. And all that's left is the new Gundam. Now, is this the OG launch one? Oh no, because that was the Verka. This is the one that came out later that confused the hell out of me. Alright. While Ace exclusive, shooting power boosted by 30%, melee damage raised 10%, EX skill power boosted by 35%. Honestly, that's friggin' solid. So the new Gundam is built, to my recollection, as a shot machine first and foremost. So the Ace exclusive tag is effectively a guaranteed get. Paired that, you get your shooting power boost, and you also, by taking 10% more melee damage, whoop-de-doo, don't get hit, EX skill power boosted by a further 35. Now, to keep in mind, the way in most games, the way that damage formula works, it actually benefits you more with the variety of buffs that you bring to the table. So if you reduce the enemy's defense and boost your own attack, it's better than boosting your own attack twice. Alright? In this scenario, your shooting power boost, good, boosts your shooting damage output, and then you boost your EX skill power output as well. Both of those kind of combine to make a big number. Bigger than if you just did shooting power times 2 or EX skill power times 2. I'm not saying those are bad. I'm just saying the variety of buffs in most games typically adds up to a higher overall number. I don't know though, in this one specifically, because we don't have a data mine damage formula, and I don't think people have labbed out the damage formula yet either. So best we have is assumptions and anecdotes. So take that as you will. Torso. Middle shooter job, shooting power boosted by 30%. Dope stuff. Middle shooter job, enemy shooting power reduced by 30%. Wow. So that first trait, really solid stuff. Second trait, not so much. Oh, excuse me. Now, this is one of those parts you don't have to alternate because you get the best trait out of the box, but if you want to benefit from the bonus stats, you're probably going to want to invest a little bit into it. The first trait is really solid, middle shooter job, you get a shooting power boost. At least the second one is symbiotic in the activation requirement, in which middle shooter job. I just don't like the enemy shooting power reduced. That's very niche because it means you have to be fighting an enemy that is primarily spec'd out towards ranged. If you are, alright, it's not that bad. But I wish it had been an EX skill power boost or maybe a cooldown reduction or something that really built off that first one, like that first amazing trait. Alright, arms. Beam Saber combo. D Pierce A- power. I'm pretty sure I know the animation for this one, and I'm pretty sure it's not great. Legs. With power attribute, strong melee crit rate boost by 30%. To keep in mind, strong melee refers to the last swing in a melee combo. It doesn't actually refer to anything else. It's literally just that last swing in a melee combo. Or if you're using specific job licenses, when you're dashing at an enemy in attack, you do the big wind-up attack right away. That is a strong melee. That is the only crit rate being boosted by this. It's not worth it. While pro tag, shooting power boosted by 35%. What the f? This is just such a waste. Pro tag does nothing for shot, but you need it as an activator to get a shooting power boost. What? Alright, nope. Alright, the backpack fin funnel combo. Perform because of blah blah blah. Raise shot attack of your squad by 49%. That's the third highest modifier in the game. Dope. Raise shot defense of your squad by 24%. A plus pierce, A power. It is a cutscene, 8-second initial cooldown. Solid stuff. Solid stuff. And before we get a melee to shot converter and vice versa. Man, that is going to be an interesting day. Doman, now the best shot in the land. Alright, Beam Saber. When one enemy shot down, EX skill power boost by 30%. We haven't seen this activator in a while. Inherently, it's not bad. It does have its use in a lot of different modes, whether you're playing 3-on-3 arena, specific multi-missions, battle circuit. However, it is limited to certain modes because you're not going to be able to fight more than one enemy in 1-on-1 arena or multi-missions where there's only one enemy. So it is one of those very situational things where it does depend on the content you're doing. And with power attribute, shooting crit rate boost by 50%. It's a 50% boost. If you're pursuing a crit rate build, sure. I just don't think it's worth it. Alright, Beam Rifle. Well, Ace exclusive, initial EX skill charge boosted by 20%. I think that's the highest mod we've seen for ICD. Okay. When attacking with Beam, shooting power boosted by 35%. Very easy to get both of these activated, Ace exclusive and use beams, and you get an ICD reduction of 20% and a shooting power boost of 35%. Solid. A Gatling gun build. Even then though, you'd be better off stacking more attack. Alright, time for my favorite weapon in the whole game, the bazooka. With power attribute, EX skill power boosted by 30%. Solid. When one enemy shot down, job gauge increase boosted by 25%. I've already talked about how I feel about the one enemy shot down and job gauges. So there's that. And the shield. With power attribute, buff EX skill time up 22%. Remember, the way that this game works is by flat percentage addition. So, yeah. It's kind of silly how everything is just like flat additionals on percentages. But anyways, buff EX skill time up. Here's the thing, right? If you're not able to finish the fight by the time your buff duration's over, the buff either didn't really matter that much, or you gotta go back to the drawing board with your build. Buffs last a significant amount of time in this game, and I don't think I've ever had a match, even years ago, where my buffs ran out before the fight ended. I think the sole exception to this is during very, very early on when we had the EX difficulty and it was excessively difficult to clear because we didn't have power creep, we didn't have access to all these tools we do now. And I think it's the only time I've ever seen a buff run out in this game. So I don't really see that being very useful. And back parts EX skill power boost by 35%. that's a solid second trait. There's a lot of really good back EX skills, including the one on the suit itself, and 35% is nothing to sneeze at. Cool stuff. All right, and I think that's everything, eh? I think we've gone over all the new stuff. Cool beans. Okay. Well, with that, guys, I'm gonna wrap up. It is it's 10 to 1 in the morning. Oh boy. Anyways, it's been real fun going over all these new suits and talking stuff, talking shop. I will be back next week with a new video, unless of course something else gets shadow dropped this coming week. I really hope it doesn't, but if it does, I will be here streaming. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Peace out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.